departments that came to assist with mutual aid throughout the evening. We had departments from not only surrounding towns but as far away as the city of Hartford coming to assist and help knock down and control the blaze here at 167 Pratt Street. The calls came in just prior to 8 p.m. last night, and our crews, along with other departments, were on scene fighting and controlling the fire. There was one rescue of a civilian that was in this metal Quonset hut behind us. That individual, to our knowledge, is still in the hospital, but does not seem to be life-threatening at this time. So, of course, we wish him well and a speedy recovery. At this time, there are no reports of injuries to our firefighters or other departments that were on scene. Most of this fighting was done from the exterior of the building, not the interior of the building. I also just want to stress, members of the public, that at this time we do not believe that there is any harm or contamination in the air or any reason to be concerned. We obviously have an ongoing investigation through not only our local fire marshal's office, but also in conjunction with state and federal partners as well, including the EPA and state DEEP offices. So they will remain on scene. Additionally, for our residents, please note that Pratt Street, this section here in front of the building, will remain closed likely throughout most of the day today. So if you could, please keep traffic flow out of this area. We've also seen residents, neighbors, and walkers trying to come through this scene. Please stay away from this scene. Respect our police officers that will remain on scene, and stay clear of the area. It's for your safety, obviously, until we conclude this investigation and we can learn more. For specifics on the incident, again, our chief was providing us regular updates throughout the evening last night. So, Chief Morgan, thank you for your leadership on this and your entire command team for leading us through this, and most importantly, keeping members of the public and your department safe. So at this time, I'll turn it over to our Fire Chief, Ken Morgan.
Thank you. As he said last evening, we got a report of a fire in a building. The first companies are right down the street. They're a block and a half away. They arrived to see some smoke coming from the Quonset huts back here. As you can see, there's still a hot spot we're working with back there. That prompted them to set up their operations on this side over here. They forced the door and shortly thereafter found a victim inside who was disoriented, was trying to find his way out. They did successfully get him out with no issues, and he was transported to the hospital as a precaution. The fire progressed pretty rapidly. They started an interior attack near the Quonset huts. Within a few minutes, they determined that the fire was not only pushing out of that part of the building, but had now extended to the large building behind us, and they made a determination that it was too risky to continue an interior attack. We know the history of the building. It's been something on our radar for quite a while. So they did start an exterior attack, but the fire progressed incredibly fast, and that resulted in almost an immediate second alarm and a third alarm shortly after that. By the time we were done, we had 5 alarms here, and like they said, we had everybody from North Haven, Hamden, all the way up to Hartford down here. Kudos to those guys for coming to help us. That's a great help when we make a call and they can come right down and help us. It was pretty extensive fire. At one point we had like 5 aerial devices up, flowing water, trying to keep this thing into the building. We were very concerned that there was a home, and you can't really see it from here, but there's a home on the adjacent corner. As the fire progressed, we were concerned about that home. We evacuated it real quick and made a defensive attack from that side and saved the home. But there was some question as to whether we were going to lose that home and the one next to it at some point. Again, for orchestrating that number of departments coming in here, getting things done, basically using every fire hydrant in the area, everything went exceptionally well. And as you can see right now, we're at a point where we're just overseeing hot spots and helping the investigators see if they can get in and see what we can find on this.
Chief, can you talk a little bit about, for the media on hand, where the person was rescued from and how you went about finding this individual?
Excuse me. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it was the door there that they forced initially. They went in, and he was in the hallway in there. And from the reports that I got from them, he was a little disoriented on where he was at in the hall. And that was because the smoke had banked down and obscured vision. It was pretty heavy smoke conditions when they went in there. And they were fortunate that he was close to the exit. They located him, got him, and pulled him right out.
You all mentioned that this has been on your radar before, and I know yesterday, last night, we have heard that there's been a fire previously before in that building. Why is this reoccurring? Is there any information you can give on that?
No, the fire that we had in the chrome plating plant a while back was totally unrelated to what was going on here. That one, we did do the cause and origin on that, and it was an error in manufacturing that caused that. And fortunately didn't do a lot of damage to the business, unlike tonight or last night's fire. The chrome plant is a total loss.
So you don't know yet how this one started?
No, we're still looking into that. One of the big problems we have is we knew that the big building behind us was not in real good shape to begin with, and we tagged that building as one of those that we wouldn't go into unless we knew there was a life threat in it. And so that was a feeder into the decision to go defensive early. And judging by the damage of the building that I've seen by drone and stuff like that, I'm not 100% sure we're going to even get into that building. It's pretty much an unsafe environment in there right now.
Chief, in terms of the air quality, was that monitored last night and overnight during the height of the fire?
Yes, one of the first calls we made for, besides the mutual aid companies, was to get deep down here to give us some feedback, because we had a fire in that plant before. We learned some lessons from that, and one of them was to get them here early. So they did come down, they started doing some air monitoring, some water monitoring, and they fed information to us so that we knew kind of where we were at. We're still in that point right now. There are still some chemicals in that building that we have to evaluate. EPA is down here to help us do that, and we're going to make an evaluation to determine whether we need an environmental company to come down and clean this up. Technically, yes. It was a 5-alarm fire on the scene, plus we had an additional alarm in to cover the city. The number of fire departments, I think I counted 8 from surrounding areas. Many of them sent 2 units and a chief officer. Like Wallingford, we had their entire chief staff down here. We've worked out a lot of good deals with mutual aid and our surrounding partners. We use them pretty regularly. They use us pretty regularly, and that makes it really fast, and we know what we're getting as a response. So, but for us to call Hartford, that's unusual.
How unusual is the 6-alarm fire?
I talked to one of the firefighters who's a 25-year veteran. He says he's never seen a fire this big in his 25-year career. We've had some big fires in the last 10 years. We had Meeting House, which was pretty good size. Another apartment, the name of which is kind of slipping my mind. That was a 3 or 4 alarm fire. And then, of course, the 116 Cook, which went to 3 alarms. But again, it was an abandoned building. It was one of those we're going to surround it. They refer to it as surround and drown, and that's basically what it is. We surround it and throw water at it till it goes out. Again, because that building we know is an unsafe building, similar to this one. So to have a 6-alarm fire or a 5-alarm fire with a 6th alarm covering the city is incredibly unusual. Well, we haven't been inside, but what we've seen is from drones. We have a couple of firefighters that have drones. We have our own drone. So we fly them up and we fly it over and take a look. And last night, it looked like we were getting a good handle on it until we flew the drone over it, and we could actually see the pockets of fire there. So we knew it was going to be a while. We did fly a drone over it this morning. There's substantial damage to both buildings. Obviously, you can kind of see the damage to one, but if you fly over there, there's no roof on part of the section of it. Part of it's collapsed in. So it's an incredibly unsafe environment in there right now.
Chief, there have been some questions from residents on social media, and either you, Mayor, or you, Chief, maybe can answer this question. What goes into the determination of when a building comes down, when it's taken down, sort of thing? If you can sort of walk us through that.
We kind of look at the building to determine the status. Like, we will look at this building today and look at the status of it. And if it looks like it might fall down on its own, and this happened on Broad Street not too long ago, we had a collapse in a building. When we looked at it, we knew that it was coming down, whether it was going to come down in the next hour or the next day. So we'll take a look at that. Right now, this building looks fairly stable, but we'll take one more look at it before we leave the scene, and we are going to secure the area just to prevent people from getting into it. But we do a determination on whether it needs to come down right away, as the Broad Street building was very seriously damaged. We brought it down later that day.
That was your fire headquarters?
Yeah, it was right next door. Yeah, that was a little too close for, well, not next door, there's a building between it, but it was close enough. And it had a substantial collapse from the roof into the second floor, which jeopardized all the walls. And that's one of the things we look at, is stability of the walls all the way around.
No firefighters treated as a result of attacking this place? No,
we had, I'm estimating somewhere between 70 and 100 firefighters here last night. We had no injuries to fire personnel. Again, from multiple departments, and everything worked as as good as it possibly could have. That's one thing we're trying to determine, whether it started in this building and smoked up that building, or if it started here and moved there. Again, we have to get into that to take a look, and we'll determine that hopefully later today. Anytime an abandoned building catches on fire, they typically don't do it on their own, but again, that's something that would be real premature to declare right now. We do not believe there was anybody in that part of the building. It was only in the chrome shop, but whether there was somebody in that, as in 116 Cook, but they knew there was somebody that was in that building, they had got out on their own prior to our arrival. We don't know that, and I don't know if we'll ever find that out. Yeah, they were prepping, from what I understand, they were prepping for operations today. So apparently they have to go in and fill a tank overnight, get it ready to go. I think they heat the water up, and that's one of the issues, is they have a lot of water they have to heat up. So they fill the tank the night before and then heat it up. And I believe that's what they were doing.
Any other questions?
I'm just going to close just with, again, a thank you, but also a reminder to the public. So next steps. Obviously, this road will remain closed through the portion of today. Please remain clear of the site. We've also contracted a fencing company that will come in and put up a fence around the exterior of the building as well, to keep people out of the building, and then, of course, away from whatever hazards there may be. And then, as the investigation unfolds, determine what, if anything, needs to occur with this building, whether it's secure it or demolish it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. So you can take these back?
Yes, sir.